Hey, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. He's coming to you from his home. I am back in the Main Street Murray studios here in Columbia. We'll be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics, and excited to do so. Wade, happy hump day.
What's up, Mo? Good to be with you. Good to see everybody, including our producer, Mark Rogers. It is a beautiful
Absolutely.
day in the neighborhood and pumped for a big show here on this Wednesday.
It's going to be a big show. Looking forward to it. In the second hour, as we typically do on Wednesdays, we'll be speaking with Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. Someone other than Shane Van Gisbergen won a race this past weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about who did and what's coming up in NASCAR last week and this week. Also, in the next segment, we'll be visiting with John D. BRICE of footballscoop.com. Again, college football right around the corner. Might not even be around the corner at this point, but going to check in with Bryce and get his thoughts on what's going on, kind of broaden our horizons a little bit with Bryce. So looking forward to doing that as well. We'll also be talking little baseball, as little as possible. Ugly day today, ugly night last night if you are a Braves fan, but we'll talk some about that. Astros rolling, though, behind a rookie. We'll be talking a little bit more about that as well, and some other MLB talk. Got some spring football to talk about. Got some pro football to talk about. A little Major League Soccer, WNBA talk. And it is Wild and Wacky. In the final segment, Wade and I will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, and most wondrous news from across the globe. And, of course, Florida. Florida making at least one entry, maybe a couple, in this week's talk. So looking forward to getting to that. Big show as we pass the halfway point of the week here on Main Street Sports Today. Wade, how is your Wednesday?
Wednesday's good. Yeah, Wednesday's good. Got the yard mowed and blowed and taken care of. Got the dogs walked. I mean, it's about as good of a Wednesday as we can get, and with minimal weather interference today. After the last couple days, it's been pretty gross and pretty yucky. But today was nice and sunny, so glad to get that taken care of.
We didn't get that rain in Franklin yesterday. It sure looked like it was going to, but we never really got it. So, of course, now Monday the bottom fell out. But yeah, I can do without that for a while. So.
Yeah, started out as sprinkles yesterday, and then there were some nervous folks close to Nissan Stadium last night. It was about 2 hours before gates were set to open. Yeah, we had about a 2.5 hour rain shower. Well, not a rain shower. It was a pretty intense bout of rain. But today, meanwhile, yeah, it's borderline nice out there. Other than as nice as 92 degrees could be. I'll put it to you that way.
There we go. I guess the bigger question coming out of last night at Nissan, though, was did anybody get outed or otherwise lose any jobs from last night's performance?
I hope not. At least not in regards to the Jumbotron at Coldplay. They've done a great job of modifying the way they approach that segment of the show now. They don't give it a full shout out, but they give it a little bit of a tongue in cheek, and it was a great show. Being in Nashville, they paid homage as best they could. Keith Urban and Tim McGraw were referenced a number of times during the set, and lo and behold, because it's Nashville, Keith Urban decides to come on out and play a couple songs. So it's big time. A lot of big dogs in the house, kind of to see but not be seen, if you catch my drift to your original point there. So it was a good time, and one of the more magical nights that we've had at Nissan, it felt like, in the last couple of summer shows.
So I do catch your drift, but I got a question. Obviously Nashville, Music City, It City, everybody's here, that kind of thing. Do the headlining acts and those surprise guests talk about that kind of thing in advance? Do they know that's coming, or does, not necessarily Keith Urban specifically, but does someone just kind of wander out on the stage without warning typically? Do you have any idea how that works? I'm curious.
At a show at a venue like Nissan Stadium, I'm willing to bet everything is prearranged. I mean, we're talking about, set times are dialed in to the second. There not much gets out of whack on a big tour like that. Now, you go to a smaller venue, Alan Jackson happens to walk in. Alan Jackson, he walks in your building during your set. You're probably going to at least acknowledge him. And he may just hop up on there and do a show with you. So maybe not to that extent, but it was cool to see Keith Urban come out and rock out. He's headlined CMA, seemingly for the last decade, one night or another. And so he was familiar out there. A couple of the openers paid some homage to the Titans with some jerseys. A really sweet throwback Vince Young jersey from the earliest opener last night. So the vibes were high, and like I said, the rain held off, which made for a great night.
And Keith is pretty universally loved, so anytime you can get him up on your stage, I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. We just talked about Nicole Kidman was front and center at Wimbledon at the final a couple weeks ago when Sinner and Alcaraz were going toe-to-toe. So that's old news now because Keith is headlining Coldplay concert. So they kind of give and take there in their Music City headline sharing, I guess, as it were. But yeah, he did a great job, and 60+ thousand folks got in, got out. No real incidents of note, and yeah, no firings, no real
no outings or anything.
No outings, none of that. They did have some fun with the cam last night, but everybody, to the best of my knowledge, got to keep their job today, so that was good.
That's a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing.
And their marriage, I guess, for that matter too.
Probably more importantly, yeah. Let's go ahead and get things started. We've kind of given you the lay of the land, and so let's get into yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The rundown is here, boys and girls, and on your Wednesday rundown, we start with Tuesday results, and we go to the baseball diamond. A couple of MLB scores from last night to kick things off. The Giants defeat the Braves 9-0, and the Astros defeat the Diamondbacks 3-1. Minor league baseball score from last night. Good win for the Sounds as they take care of Charlotte. 10-7 was your final. Again, Nashville defeating Charlotte over at First Horizon Park. WNBA scoreboard from last night. A lot of close games, a lot of fun games. The Sparks with a nice win, 93-86 over the Mystics. It was the Liberty 98. Jonquel Jones feasted in her return last night, winning over the Fever 98-84. It was Minnesota 91, Chicago 68. The Vegas Aces sprung a nice victory, a rare victory for them, 87-72 over the Atlanta Dream. House divided there between me and Mo, I suppose. I'll let you give me my props later. Dallas 87, Seattle 63. Talk about a kind of stunning result. The lowly Wings give the Storm the business last night. Again, 87-63 was your final.
Gave them the business big time. Baseball today, a lot of afternoon affairs. One just went final as the Giants for the second straight day scored 9 runs. It was San Francisco 9, Braves 3 final there. Astros and D-backs getting started here in about a half an hour. You can see that one on the MLB network. The Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Charlotte. That's a 6:35 first pitch over at First Horizon Park. It's Winning Wednesday. It's Clear Tote Bag giveaway. It's Kroger Wednesday. And as we discussed yesterday with Emma May Bradley and Aaron Ryder, it is Women in Sports night. They've got a panel discussion that starts up at 4:30 at First Horizon. Michaela Blakes from Vanderbilt will be throwing out the first pitch, and a lot going on with Playmakers Nashville over there. So go to playmakersnashville.org to get more information on their presentation this evening over at First Horizon. WNBA action tonight. The lone game on the schedule. The Dream in the second of a back-to-back traveling to Phoenix, taking on the Mercury. That is a 9 o'clock tip. You can see it on the CBS Sports Network. Also, MLS and Liga MX will play their all-star matchup tonight. That's an 8 o'clock start. You can see it on Apple TV. Again, the Nashville Soccer Club will have a trio of individuals taking part in that. Andy Nahar, Hani Mukhtar, and Sam Surridge. So
Hey, and
Check that out.
big drama on that, Mo, because Messi, everybody's wondering, where is Messi? He hasn't
No.
shown up. And if he does not appear by tonight and play in that game, he's got to miss their matchup on Saturday at Cincinnati. So everybody's wondering, hey, we paid big bucks for Messi. Where you at, bro?
Yeah, that's not sounding very good, but we're going to talk about more of that later in the show. So, but yeah, it's not where's Waldo, it's where's Messi out in Austin right now. So we'll see how that shakes out. At any rate, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Started to hear a little bit about this yesterday. It's picking up steam, no pun intended. But the Memphis Showboats of the UFL are among 4 UFL teams that are reportedly leaving their respective homes for the 2026 season. In addition to the Showboats, Michigan, Houston, and Birmingham are reportedly being relocated for, again, the spring 2026 season. And I've got in the tweet Memphis losing the Showboats with losing in a question mark because they've not been great. 5-5 their first year back as a USFL team. 2-8 each of the past 2 seasons in the UFL. They've not been great on the field. They've not been great in the stands at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. One of the lowest attendance figures in the league, and so. This thing, I can't imagine that it doesn't at least have some credibility to it. The UFL officials are not talking in absolutes at this point, but it sure sounds like, and has sounded for a little bit, as if Memphis would not be back as a UFL city in 2026. The league office is in the planning stages for next season and beyond. At this point, we have nothing to report on unauthorized speculation. Okay.
What else are you gonna say?
It's unfortunate. Yeah, what else are you gonna say? I mean, if you're not gonna acknowledge it, but you know it's true, then yeah, there's really not a whole lot else you can say. But I mean, this started to bubble up even at the end of the season because again, their attendance figures weren't great. The team hasn't been great. They've been through a lot. They had a coaching change early on in the season. Former Titans coach Ken Wisenhunt missed the start of the season due to some personal issues and eventually stepped away. And I don't know that you would say they didn't recover from that necessarily, but they just weren't very good. And it's unfortunate, you know. Memphis has wanted professional football on some level for such a long period of time, and it's been, you know, a series of hits for Memphis. We were talking yesterday about the situation with the university and the Big 12 and the $200 million that the Big 12 conference wouldn't take to admit Memphis into the conference. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Bluff City. Tough to watch, but yeah, spring football may be going by the wayside in Memphis for next year. Again, given the attendance situation, I'm not sure how many people will miss it, but there it is.
Yeah, I mean, and I wish I could kind of say I'm shocked. This, you know, insert city here. If you just picked 4 other teams at random, I probably would have had the same reaction. But Memphis, it felt like was, to use a phrase from yesterday, they were kind of swimming in shark-infested waters from the jump. And I mean, John Martin, good friend of mine over at 92.9 there in Memphis. I mean, he had a tweet yesterday that kind of summed it up. Said they had never had a prayer in terms of long-term sustainability, and as loving and as kind of Mr. Memphis as he is, for him to say something like that really kind of told me all I needed to do, and said maybe they lasted longer than some folks in that town would have liked it. I mean, quick Google search. You know, I didn't dig too deep on this, but I mean, you're talking 4,000 fans on average. You know, and I'm not I'm not signing the checks every week. So, that number may carry some weight differently to other people, but it certainly doesn't seem good. That's down by around 3,000 from their 2024 season attendance, and one game cited their Week 9 contest around 2,000 fans. So much so I even saw a tweet from July after the Defenders said there's more fans at our championship parade than there were at Showboats games in the regular season. So I love the shade being thrown, but also, man, that cuts deep because it's probably not too far off the truth.
That does cut deep, and it's probably not too far from accurate either. But because I think I saw 2,600 for a game at some point during the season, so it's just unfortunate. I mean, you hate to see towns get teams and then lose teams in such a fashion, but it's spring football. Whatever goes with that. What's the shock to me, though, is Birmingham with the success that they've had. I mean, they've got a relatively brand new facility over there that they're playing in. The team has been really dynamic regardless of what spring football league it's been in. They've had some success, and for the league to be walking away from there, and obviously they're taking the franchise with them, and that success would theoretically follow, but you've got a team that's had some success in a city. It's a little odd to me that they would be on the chopping block as such, but it's something we'll keep an eye on here going forward.
And tough break for them, and like you said, it felt like there was some excitement, at least in terms of on the field. They're in a tough spot though, right? Because you already got 2 pro teams in Alabama, and they're called Alabama and Auburn. So good luck trying to crack that market. Kind of some early rumors that they may potentially be bound for Louisville, it seems. I love this, by the way. This is from James Larson on Twitter, James Larson PFN. One market that is being bandied about is Boise. Give me if you're going to have a weird league that, nobody really kind of tunes into a lot, make it as weird as possible. Give me a team in Boise. But Columbus, Ohio, Orlando has been bandied about kind of, and then Louisville, like I mentioned. So if this league kind of continues to survive in some sort of a zombie type mode, it certainly looks like it'll be in some new locations. Maybe, hopefully, that springs some new interest and kind of maybe keeps them afloat for another season or two.
I feel like spring football obviously provides a lot for a lot of people, as much the athletes as anything. I mean, you get a guy like Chris Rowland from Ravenwood with the season that he had with the Defenders. You get a coach like a Shannon Harris, who has now come back to TSU but won a UFL championship this past season. I mean, it's given opportunities to some folks, and so and everybody loves football, right? So, the more opportunities for folks to play and watch and that kind of thing, the better off it would feel like to me. And even if it is a spring, people still seem to kind of eat it up. So I don't know why it hasn't worked necessarily in those towns, but hopefully they can get to some venues that will work better for the UFL and allow that to continue to go. So we'll see what happens. Let's take a break here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by John D. Bryce of footballscoop.com. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're joined now by John D. BRICE of FootballScoop.com. John, good afternoon.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Never a bad time to talk college football.
Welcome in,
Well, we
bro.
appreciate you taking some time. Absolutely. Let's start back in your old stomping grounds, man. What are you hearing about this Boo Carter situation? Is there a situation?
That's a tough one, but I respect you, Mo, because you were a journalist through and through, and you just came out and asked the most pressing question and the one that a lot of people are asking. He has been away from the team. He's been handling some personal stuff. I think Tennessee, from people I talked to as recently as last night, has been very patient with him. That patience has probably got a deadline for sure. And I think he's missed some stuff that has left some of his teammates, I was told, questioning his commitment right now. So Boo's got some stuff away from the field that he needs to handle, some family stuff, I would say. And frankly, he needs to listen to the good influences around him a little bit more than some of the negative influences. I can tell you for sure that he did recently fire his existing agent and hire a new agent. So I know someone had said that his current agent is also the agent for Ace Bailey, the lottery pick who just signed with the Utah Jazz and made a lot of headlines for not working out for teams. I can't confirm that. I can tell you that the name of his agency is quality sports or something like that. Quality control. Quality control is the name of the group that he is now allowing to represent him. So again, he's a splendidly talented player. But I know Vols fans are not wanting to see him go the Derrick Rogers route right now.
Derrick Rogers is a name. Nico is another name, and that's one that took place under the current regime as well. I mean, we saw what Josh Heupel's reaction was back at the end of spring practice with Nico, and I didn't master his last name, and at this point I don't really feel the need to. But, you know, it's been culture first up there. Is this Nico 2.0?
Nico Iamaleava. It took me a minute to
just as soon as you got it down, he was gone, right?
Right. And now I will say, speaking of the one we're not supposed to speak of, Nico Iamaleava, UCLA is taking him to Big Ten Media Days this week in Vegas. I kind of wish I was there. Well, honestly, I always wish I was in Vegas, but I would like to be there for work right now, if only for the Nico session. You know, this is trending that way, and you know, culture first. I think Heupel has now cemented himself at Tennessee, where it is his program, it is his culture. I would say Nico got a lot of culture strikes before he finally struck out. This was not Josh Heupel kicked him off the team on the third strike. This was a second or third time through the lineup that he struck out and finally ran out of swings there in Knoxville. And, you know, again, credit to Josh Heupel, because people I've talked to recognize that this is a bit of a juncture point for Boo Carter, far beyond the football field. This is important for what direction his life goes right now. And again, he's got some good people that have helped him for a really long time, not just that have shown up in his life now that college athletes are getting paid. And you hope he'll listen to some of those people that he's trained with through the years and that truly have his best interest at heart. So, again, Tennessee has been incredibly patient with him. I don't think I know all the rumors about gangs and all that stuff. It was put to me. It's not Boo. There might be some people in his life that have those affiliations. I was told very candidly it is not Boo with those. But you know, those lines can get blurred, especially if you're not in Knoxville, locked in with your teammates, and not only doing what you're supposed to do from a physical standpoint, but being there mentally and therefore blocking out all the noise and all the crap that's seeping into your life.
Yeah, and John, you know, it's interesting because it feels like every story we've had about a player being disgruntled or a team, you know, on the outs with a player has been so NIL based. It doesn't make it any less scary or, you know, any more less concerning. But in a way, this is a real kind of throwback in a sense. We're not talking about an NIL situation, it sounds like.
No, I think the NIL stuff was probably 6 months ago. I think Boo Carter had some people in his ear telling him, you need to get in the portal. You can make a lot more money in January. This is not that right now. This is Boo's got to get some stuff together off the field because he has a chance to be a breakthrough player, a real breakthrough player in the SEC. And if you break through in the SEC, you break through nationally. So he has that skill set. But again, this is about buttoning down things well off the football field so that you can button down your chin strap and do what you need to do between the lines.
John, you made some comments that kind of made it sound like this is a done deal.
No, I would not say that at all. I would not. Okay. Tennessee is trying to be patient with him, but again, like he's missed stuff, and his teammates know he's missed important workouts, and this is the time of year where a lot of the bonding and a lot of the work is put in so that you can deal with, you know, an early season loss to whomever, or so that you can deal with finding a way to win in the fourth quarter against whomever, and the fires that forge those moments start really in the summer for sure. When there's coaches less around, you're doing organized team activities on your own, you're being a good teammate. So no, I don't think it's a done deal, but I would say it's a ticking clock.
Okay. Bradley Central was where he finished his career, made his name in the Chattanooga prep ranks. Is Boo Carter too close to home, John?
Well, in Knoxville, I would contend he's not too close to home, but if he's leaving Knoxville and going home and being around some people that don't have his best future interests in mind, then you can make that contention. But also, you know, Nico wasn't too close to home, but his parents decided to bring home with him, and that made it too close to home. So, you know, every situation's different. I don't want to lump it in as just as simple as being too close to home. But you know, I think there's some selfish people in Boo's life right now, and hopefully, again, he listens to a guy like Buck Fitzgerald that has helped so many guys and steered so many guys along the way, and he's tried and is trying to help Boo. And you know, you need to listen to a guy like that who's seen it all and who's helped develop kids forever. And he's got a track record at NFL guys to prove it. And you know, Buck cares first and foremost about the kid and then the school. So yeah, he's a Tennessee Vol who won a national championship. He cares about Boo Carter and not his alma mater right now. He wants to see Boo get right and be back at Tennessee because right now that's what's best for him, and that will help him get right and stay right in life.
You talked about him possibly having a breakthrough season. He's a uniquely talented individual. Tennessee had a lot of plans for him, and both sides of the ball might not even cover it. I mean, on all three sides of the ball, I guess, offense, defense, special teams, they kind of had plans on him figuring into all three of those phases, did they not?
You know, the potential was there. He had to earn those the right for those opportunities. And it was very indicated to me it was something very much of interest to him, that he wanted that opportunity to play wide receiver. And I'll be candid with you. I talked to 2 different college coaches who were at Tennessee spring practices who said, yeah, like what I saw, Boo could definitely help them because, they're not there at all in the wide receiver corps. So, again, it's not a money issue for him right now. It's a personal issue. But in the process, he's sacrificing the potential for a whole lot of money because we see that Travis Hunter became transcendent for his two-way play. I would contend the best two-way player since Champ Bailey or Carl Pickens, and that's what Travis Hunter did. And I'm not saying Boo Carter is in the class of any of the 3, but if you get the opportunity in today's media-saturated world, everybody's going to see you do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you just said, John, earlier about, if you break through in the SEC, whether you continue at the same school, whether you continue in the SEC, or whether you transfer elsewhere, once you kind of get that first initial breakthrough, it's almost like off to the races, and it kind of just becomes, continue to produce, but as long as you don't get hurt, you kind of already have that NFL payday kind of in your back pocket, it feels like.
Yeah, you do. And look, let's be clear right now, too, especially with the fact that it looks like some of the proposed guardrails are not going to be able to be enacted right now in college football. You can make more in college football right now than some NFL dudes. So, again, you're sacrificing, significant personal and potential family wealth right now because you're just not doing the routine stuff in your life.
John Brice of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Getting away from Knoxville, but staying in the Southeastern Conference. Hayden Spurrier, John, used to say that you wanted to catch Georgia early before all of their suspended guys got back. Well, they're not even waiting until they get to campus these days. You've got a couple of commitments that are having some brushes with the law these days.
Yeah, and I think Auburn also just had a commitment or maybe an early signee who also just had a brush with the law. Again, like you hope the best for these kids because they're making mistakes. And, I think I ran a stop sign on my way home so that I could be on time for this Zoom with you guys. So I'm sure not in position to pass judgment, especially on kids that young. But again, that's where they have to have a great support system. They have to have people that will discipline them in a proper way instead of enabling them in all the wrong ways. And I think right now you're seeing a lot of maybe more enabling than ever before because the money is now legal and starting earlier than ever before. And I think I've touched on it on your guys' great show before. The kid that's now a freshman quarterback at Texas A&M who should be preparing for his senior year of high school. And he graduated early as a junior and enrolled because the money was there. The money was now. The money could be paid now. And he made that decision to sacrifice 18 months of high school, not just his final 3 semesters, not 1 semester. He sacrificed his final 3 semesters, including his senior year of high school, to go ahead and start getting paid. And so because the money's there, I just think the system's broken, we know. But then the fact that the money is there and now legal, I think you've got some bad actors in some of these kids' lives, and you've got some enablers instead of some disciplinarians.
Chase Calicut, a 4-star prospect out of Texas, was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon related to a July 6th shooting out in Houston. Meanwhile, JUCO top recruit Seven Cloud was charged with domestic battery earlier this month. I mean, like you said, some guys not making some great decisions. Cloud, the top JUCO prospect in this upcoming class, is at Butler County, Kansas, and was charged with a Class B misdemeanor out there. But
yeah, the problem with Seven Cloud, I believe, is that's not a first offense, and it's maybe not a first offense for a domestic situation. And with the other kid you just referenced from out of Texas, it was pointed out to me by my colleague Zach Barnett, who lives in Texas, like, yeah, he picked Georgia over Texas, and now this happens. And you don't have that in-state benefit of the doubt. You don't have the network you don't have the network of Texas people that would be not doing anything wrong, but be further committed to making sure this kid stays on the straight path so that he can get to Texas. And so, you have to pick the school that's best for you. You have to pick the situation best for you. But that is one of those situations where he picked Georgia for whatever reasons he did, and he lives in Texas. So the benefit of the doubt that you might have gotten, not saying to ignore the law or anything like that, but the people you would have to help support you, there's not that many Georgia Bulldogs in Texas.
No, there's not. What else have you kind of got your eye on here, John, as we edge closer to that last weekend in August and getting things started up on the field?
Technically, we're in the unofficial third transfer portal window, guys. This is the time that all those athletes of all the sports, any of the athletes who were designated as a grandfathered, quote unquote, student athlete, volleyball, softball, baseball, football, obviously, whatever, they carry that designated status with them, which means their school has told them, hey, you're okay now because the house settlement changed, but you weren't going to have a spot, and we have to designate you as grandfathered, meaning you weren't going to have a spot. Those people can transfer anywhere without penalty. It does not count against the scholarship count of a new school if they elect to transfer. The school that they leave then loses that individual and cannot replace them. So if you have 6 grandfathered football players on your roster right now, and I think the portal is supposed to close around August 5th, August 7th at the latest. If you have 6 grandfathered football players and they're talking and they're seeing as summer winds down right now that they're not going to play at all. There's a reason they were designated student athletes, but they might be able to go G5 if they're Power 5 and find a home and have a chance to contribute in their final 1 or 2 years of college. They can leave, and it doesn't hurt those teams. But that program, you could lose 5 of those 6 grandfathered football players, and you're just out those bodies now moving forward. You don't get to replace them now, and the roster shrinks even more next year as they work towards that 105 number. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. I don't think we're going to have major movement in it, but I do think it's fascinating that the grandfathered status is owned by the student athlete, and that he or she can go wherever they want to go. The other thing, obviously, is NIL, the big news last night that CST is not going to remotely have the teeth that it thought it was going to have to enforce these third-party NIL deals utilizing Deloitte, the powerhouse international accounting firm. I don't think that's a great move for football. I think that opens up more pay for play. We'll see if that continues to be the practical case. I know I retweeted the athletics director from the University of Pacific last night, who made it very clear he felt lied to, and he felt like all the constituents have been lied to, that this was not the agreement that made them opt into the House settlement and be willing to try this College Sports Commission framework. So that one's a bigger one because it's going to affect more people than the grandfather student athletes, but those are the 2 biggest things that I find right now. The other 2 big ones would be transfer portal. Every coach I talk to thinks it's going down to 1. Then the debate becomes, is it going to be the end of December? Is it going to be early January? Or is it going to be spring? But I think that's news that could come down as recently or as soon as the next couple of 2 to 3 weeks. And that's a big one to watch. And then, playoff, I guess technically the deadline's November 30th. But there's too much talk about it expanding beyond 12. I think it's just a matter of 14 or 16. We know the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 favor the 5-11. The Big Ten's on an island, wanting all its guaranteed participation medals. Big Ten feeling itself like it's the most powerful conference right now. It's got the last 2 national titles. It is not the most powerful conference top to bottom.
John, one conference you didn't mention there is the ACC, and I got to ask you, what does it say more about? But when I reference these 2 teams, we saw Pitt head coach Patton get to the podium today, and great quote when he says that he expects Pitt to be in the championship game, taking on North Carolina, and then he threw in there, "You got Bill Belichick, so you better be there, right?" Do we take more Pat feeling himself about his own program, or do we already have a nice little pillow fight between two middling ACC teams on our hands?
Yeah, that's that might be an insult to pillow fights. The way I see this season playing out there, buddy. I think Pitt is going to struggle. I think Pat Narduzzi, like I said about Boo Carter, Pat Narduzzi is at a juncture point in his career. They won the ACC.
Yeah, it felt like a headline grab to me.
Yeah. They won the ACC in 21. They started out last year 6-0, I think, and lost their last 7 games, including an inexcusable loss, maybe to Toledo in a 4 overtime, 5 overtime bowl game that never should have gone to overtime. That I thought Pat Narduzzi did a terrible job coaching.
Six overtimes.
Yeah, 6 overtimes. Thank you. And I thought Pat Narduzzi did a terrible job coaching in the waning moments of that game and on into overtime. And so Bill Belichick, news out of North Carolina today, most significant being they've sold out every single season ticket. I don't think they've done that maybe since the first Mac Brown era. I need to double check. My colleague Zach wrote about it today, but that's significant. Yeah, you're paying him $10 million. It's fair for Narduzzi to say that, but I think Pitt is a fading program in the ACC, and I think Pitt is one of those programs you don't know. Like, we're going to go to a super division of college football probably by 2030. I think it is the latest iteration that we see that. Is it 40 teams? I think it's closer to 40 than it is 60. And if it's 40, I don't know that Pittsburgh makes the cut. And I'm a college football. I'm a huge college football history fan. One of the earliest memories I have is, I think, an '83 game inside Neyland Stadium that my dad took me to, and Pitt won a close game. But you know those helmets, the vintage clips of Tony Dorsett running and all of that. And I don't think Pitt's closer to a G5 than a P4 in my opinion right now. And they bring a lot back. They got the Holstein kid that used to be at Bama. Cade Bell, second year, triggering the offense. He's an innovative young mind, son of Kerwin Bell. I don't think either one of those teams plays in the ACC championship. I appreciate Narduzzi needling Belichick and trying to put him on the spot and ramp up the pressure, but Bill Belichick knows real pressure, and I'm not sure Pat Narduzzi does.
It's worth pointing out, too, he made that comment. They're not on the regular season schedule, so I would also be curious if he would have been huffing and puffing if they had a November 1st date between themselves scheduled. It felt a little odd.
And that's my fault if I didn't mention the ACC in that previously, because I meant to say the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC have come out in favor of the 5-11 model. Especially the SEC coaches couldn't have been more clear in talking about it as they exited Destin Memorial Day week and made it clear where they stood. They want to preserve an 8-game conference schedule. And therein they can play. Yeah, they play a couple of terrible games. Nobody plays as bad a schedule as Kentucky. So Kentucky's probably gnashing its teeth and on its knees praying that they don't go to a 9-game schedule, because the MAC might fold if Kentucky can't play 2 or 3 MAC teams every year. But beyond that, you look and you've got South Carolina this year playing both Virginia Tech and Clemson. You've got Alabama opening at Florida State and also hosting Wisconsin. You got Tennessee playing Syracuse early. So, the SEC does its part. It drives me nuts that sports in general are supposed to be a meritocracy, and football especially is not supposed to be anybody gets in based on whatever. And that's all the Big Ten wants to talk about.
John Bryce of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And John, you made a comment during the Pitt, North Carolina situation where it reminded me of something that a friend of the show, Joel Anderson, tweeted probably a year and a half or so ago. But as all of this stuff started morphing, he said something to the effect of, some schools are going to be surprised when they start figuring out the haves and the have-nots, and some schools that think they are haves are going to be exposed as have-nots. And I don't know that we are necessarily to that point yet, but to your point of some of these schools that, if there is a superpower conference, aren't going to be in it, but think they are kind of in for a rude awakening, are they not?
Yeah, I mean, look, my comments about Pitt, I don't make those flippantly. I make those based on 2+ years of conversations with ACC coaches who don't believe Pitt will make it, who wonder about some other viable programs if they'll make it. And again, I talked to college executives way smarter than me, way more versed than me, who've pointed out, like, they're going to have to go back to a more regional model that doesn't really prioritize conferences, but it prioritizes geography and the 40 best programs. I know Sports Business Journal sometime last month on one of their podcasts, I think it was, their staff thought it might only be 30 to 32 college teams in a super division. I don't think it'll be that few. And again, people that are a lot smarter than me didn't think it would be that few. But Pittsburgh would be in supreme trouble. Mississippi State, supreme trouble. On and on. You wouldn't have to go very far. A bunch of ACC schools, major trouble. Pac-12, whatever's left of it. Big 12 schools, Cincinnati. Would it make a new Fab 40 division? I'm not sure that it would. So, yeah, that's a great point. And again, I may have said it having a little fun with Wade's great question there, but I didn't say it and was just talking out of my rear end. I believe it. Like there are programs that we associate with major conferences and being major conference programs, including a Pitt that won an ACC title in this decade, and I'm not sure they'll be viable in whatever this super iteration is.
Hey, John, real quick, before you get out of here, I got to ask you, the last time you and I directly spoke, we were sharing our love for the Beehive State. We were talking ins and outs of Utah. Give me, does Utah have the goods to win the Big 12 this year? And what kind of run does BYU make again this year? Will be remotely close to last season.
Yeah, BYU, I really like what BYU has and brings back. Obviously, the equation changes with the exit of Jake Retzlaff, who came into his own last year and looked poised to do some things there. BYU has the Bear Bachmeier kid that transferred from Stanford. He was a very high-profile national recruit who ended up picking Stanford after Notre Dame, which was one of his finalists. Notre Dame got somebody that they ranked a little bit higher than him, and then he picked Stanford. Now he's transferred to BYU. Utah has Zach Wilson's younger brother. They're going to be really good on defense. I'm not sure. This is a big year for Kyle Whittingham. He's one of the most tenured coaches right alongside Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. And they were just a disaster last year after being expected to challenge for the Big 12 and challenge for a CFP spot. They'll be really good again on defense, especially with Morgan Scalley. He's already been named their head coach in waiting. I don't know. I don't know if they're ready to come all the way back to challenge for the Big 12 title. I do know, I believe enough in their defense that they should be able to challenge for it over the course of the season. I'm kind of bullish on BYU. Like, they have some nice talent. Kalani Sitake, I really love what he's done with the program and the consistency and the culture. Spent some time with some of their coaches last November while they were doing some special stuff on that run. And obviously we saw what they did to Colorado in the bowl game. So BYU, they've got a tough schedule, but I like what they have. If you were asking me to handicap those two, I would like BYU's chances a little better than Utah, but Utah will have a championship level defense.
I love it. And hopefully they're good enough. It gives me an excuse or you an excuse to get back out there at some point.
Absolutely. That's the plan, my brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
There we go. John D. Bryce of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, sharing his insight as only he can. Bryce, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking some time with us.
You boys are the best. Keep holding it down in the mid-state. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate you. Let's take a break as we continue here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday on Main Street today. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing weather report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Third, 2012. Chicago Cubs starter Ryan Dempster said no thanks to a trade that would have sent him to Atlanta in exchange for Randall Delgado, as the Braves were trying to solidify a run at the NL East title. Dempster, who had expressed a preference to go to the Dodgers, was instead sent to Texas, while the Braves acquired his teammate Paul Mulholland along with Reed Johnson in exchange for Arodys Vizcaino, there we go, and Jay Chapman. Signed by the Cubs as a free agent over the offseason, Mulholland went 4-5 in 11 starts with Atlanta as the Braves clinched a wild card spot in the playoffs, losing to St. Louis in the infamous infield fly game. That was this day in Braves history. So we talked about the Braves and that win over San Francisco on Monday night to open that series. Well, followed it up by back-to-back 9-run performances by the Giants. They won last night 9-0, a result that had infielder Luke Williams on the mound late for Atlanta, and then a 9-3 victory today. So, stringing together wins, stringing together decent offensive performances seems to be beyond the Braves at this point. We're just kind of playing out the string here, man, and it's tough to watch, but it is where we are. Justin Verlander picking up his first win of the season. 6 shutout innings I think he threw, improving to 1-8 on the year. And once again, the Braves offense, they finished up with 10 hits today. I'm sorry, with 7 hits today. I'm looking at the wrong box. But nothing when it really mattered. They scored all 3 of those runs in the 7th, and it was well out of hand by the end. So, tough stretch for Atlanta, tough season for Atlanta. They go to Texas Friday after an off day tomorrow, and it is what it is, and we are where we are.
Yeah, tough scene for them. San Francisco gets its mojo back. Nice little get-back series for them. Vamos Gigantes de San Francisco, I suppose, because they kind of got right back to their winning ways. As we mentioned, they were on a real bit of a slump heading into that series.
They had lost their last 6 before last night.
Good turnaround for them to keep them with a pulse there, not only in the wild card, of course, but obviously the faint pulse still out there in the NL West at this juncture.
Meanwhile, apparently, for whatever reason, the San Diego Padres have interest in Atlanta designated hitter Marcell Ozuna. Apparently, they are proposing sending a couple of pitchers, Francis Pena and Ryan Bergert, both right-handers, 2 of the top 21 prospects, apparently, in the Padres organization. in exchange for Ozuna. What complicates the situation, though, is that Ozuna is a 10-5 guy, so he can, a la Ryan Dempster, veto any trade. And so I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, it sounds like, it looks like the Braves, they called up Sandy Leon from Gwinnett earlier this week as a third catcher. It looks like they are pretty well committed to going with Baldwin and Murphy both in the lineup for the rest of the way, or for the foreseeable future anyway. And it makes sense, and it's something they should have done a long time ago. But maybe Ozuna gets a chance to go and play for a division or for a postseason caliber ball club, because right now the Braves are not that. We'll see how that goes, among other things.
Yeah, and him especially. I'm looking at the Athletics big board of tradable targets, and the reasons you just mentioned. Sean Murphy's posted at 18 on that list. Albie's at 21, but Ozuna at 23 has what they give kind of a green light to. And it really just, like all sports, it comes down to the contract, right? His contract is up at the end of the year, so it's kind of a classic. Right. You might as well get something for this guy. Among those teams listed, San Diego, Seattle, and Texas. Not necessarily sure where Texas fits in that equation, unless you know it's a trade and sign type operation there. But they list elite bat for hire. So he, to me, would seem, you're most likely a tradable chip at that point, considering the contract situation.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, out in Arizona, the Diamondbacks will be happy to get Bryce Matthews out of town, looks like. Hit his third home run in 2 games as Houston defeated the Diamondbacks 3-1 last night. Framber Valdez picking up his 10th straight victory, and Houston kind of getting back on the beam.
Yeah, good win for them. And, I didn't get to watch any of this game, but I was keeping tabs on it kind of as I was floating between the floor at the Nissan and the office a little bit last night. And Houston explodes in the 8th and 9th. And, it looked like a classic tough luck loss situation for Valdez, who got in a jam in the 5th, but only gave up the 1 run. Then they tried him out for the 6th. He's back to normal. And then they rolled him out in the 7th, too. So 7 strong innings for him, scattering those 7 hits. And then, the offense kind of arrives late. It was kind of a throwback game in that regard. Rodriguez, the pitcher for Arizona, similar. It felt like just one of those whoever blinks first type situations. Mm-hmm. And neither one of those guys really blinked. Turned into a little bit of a bullpen battle. And Matthews coming up big for Houston, especially in that 8th inning there.
Mentioned a lot of afternoon games today. One of them just started about 15 minutes ago, but Arizona already up 1-0 on Houston in the alley out there. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one. I don't know that we'll have a result for you before we get done, but if we do, we'll let you know. Only one run scored between. I'm sorry.
Biggest one. Heather she'll be clicking her heels. The Royals are pasting the Cubs already again today, 8-2 at the moment.
Well, after pasting the Cubs yesterday 6-0 and ruining the return to the major leagues of 45-year-old Rich Hill, despite a 5-inning
Cubs won last night. Cubs won last night 6-0.
That's right. I missed
Royals got them the day before, though.
Now, the Cubs won. Rich Hill lost. I typed it wrong. Thanks for clearing that up for me, Wade. Yeah. Rich Hill making the start for Kansas City, again, goes 5 innings, gives up 3 runs, but only 1 was earned. Took a tough luck loss there. So, but Kansas City getting that get back, as you mentioned today. So, Heather should be in a pretty good mood when we get her here in the second hour. Against Seattle and Milwaukee, 1 run scored, but it was Cal Raleigh with his 39th home run, and it was enough as the Mariners ended Milwaukee's 11-game win streak with a 1-0 victory there. It was Raleigh's first in-game home run since July 11th. Obviously won the home run derby at the All-Star game. But big performance for him. Mizorowski only goes 3 2/3, but strikes out 7, does not get the decision. Got hit in the gluteus maximus by a comebacker late, and I think that out of an abundance of caution, they decided to get the youngster out. But again, 3 2/3. So that's 11 outs, 7 by strikeout. So he's continuing to roll early in his major league career, the former Nashville Sound. Pittsburgh downs Detroit yet again, 8-5. Brian Reynolds out of Brentwood High School and Vanderbilt, 3 hits, scored a pair of runs, and drove into the Tigers, as you've mentioned over the week, Wade, 1-8 in their last 9 games. They're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, whatever was rolling for them early, AJ Hinch has lost a little of that mojo. Keep your jokes to yourself over there, Mo. Maybe they would start banging on trash cans.
You said it, not me.
They got to get something going because it just feels like they have. The good news is they've kind of, in a sense, overachieved and played so well that, you kind of pretty much, the postseason is a foregone conclusion. I mean, you're up 8.5 games on the Guardians. So building such a cushion, you can afford to weather a little bit of storm. But if you have a chance to lock up home field advantage, you certainly would like to do so. So if that's kind of still a real legit target for them, then yeah, they kind of need to start getting things going because they have not been great.
Nashville opened its 6-game series against visiting Charlotte at First Horizon Park last night with a 10-7 victory, scoring in its last 3 at-bats. Bobby Dahlbeck and Daz Cameron with back-to-back home runs late in that victory as Daz continues to dazzle in his return to Nashville as he was before he left for the Brewers earlier this year. They'll continue that series at 6:35 tonight. And again, it is Women and Girls in Sports Night. Playmakers Nashville is presenting a panel discussion at 4:30, and they've got other festivities going on around the game tonight. So be sure to go to playmakersnashville.org to get some more information on that event taking place later today over at First Horizon Park. Let's take a break here as we conclude hour number 1 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
While the Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, in our final segment, Wade and I'll bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe and Florida. So be sure and stick around for that. Right now, though, we're getting into the grab bag. Let's start with the New Jersey Little League State Tournament. Williamsport is right around the corner for us. The top young talent in the country, well, in the world, descending on Williamsport for the Little League World Series here before long. But right now, you are down to the final four teams out of New Jersey trying to get to that. I guess it's the Mid-Atlantic region that they play in. Marco Rowe of the Hatfield Little League may or may not be helping his team to that state championship, because in a game on July 16th, he hit a home run, did a bat flip, was ejected, and banned from the next game, which would be the state championship game. So Marco sidelined. Marco Polo. Do we have that video, Mark? He crushed it.
That's a dinger
And
for the ages.
yeah, but and I guess, that's a call that's at the discretion of the umpire and crew on hand for that ball game. That thing had some hang time on it, and I'm not talking about the ball he hit. I don't know. I mean, do you want to be the guy that bans a kid in a situation like that? It's a tough call.
As the resident umpire on this show, I got to ask you, what's your call there? Are you tossing this kid?
I don't know. I would hope that the kids
give us the goods. We want to know.
Man, I was afraid you were going to do that. You really put me on the spot. I don't know that until you actually face the situation. And I know it sounds like a cop-out, but I think that's the reality of it. I think until you are actually put in that situation, I don't know if you know what you would call. I think there are a lot of guys that would say, oh, he's got to be gone, until you're there and you realize the significance of what him being gone means. I don't know. I honestly do not know. That's tough, but I mean, he did crank that thing up there after the hit. That may be a little much. According to the dad, the umpire cited the celebration as a safety concern, and contrary to what's shown on their pages about bat flipping, he was told that his son had broken league rules. They wrote us a letter saying there's a rule that there's no horseplay in Little League, and they consider bat flipping horseplay. He's played Little League his whole life. His dream is to make it to the World Series. We're in the state finals and are a couple of steps away. That we're on our way there, and now they tell him he can't play. Tell your kid to tamp it down a little bit. I don't know. Little League International openly promotes bat flipping all over their social media accounts, their websites, and the broadcasts on TV. It's openly promoted and encouraged. My son watches that and was emulating what he sees. The last four teams will play a double elim tournament that starts tomorrow night. And again, Marco will not be with Haddonfield when they take on Ridgewood tomorrow night. The winner would face Holbrook and Elmora. So stay tuned. We'll see.
I know
gets...
one thing. They better be lucky that that crew from the College Baseball World Series wasn't doing the game. And that kid would not just be suspended for that game; he'd be suspended for life at that point. As quick as they were to make a ruling.
Yeah, I mean, as quick as they were to toss the Coastal coach in that second game against LSU. Yeah, I'm sure they're not putting up with a 12-year-old bat flipping. So, yeah, it could have been a whole lot worse.
No fun league.
Let's get on to some NFL talk, as the Titans and everybody else has gotten started with preseason camp. As we mentioned, L'Jarius Sneed and Lloyd Cushenberry both on the PUP list to start camp. Other than that, we had the news on Levis on Monday morning. We had the news on Lorenzo Carter yesterday. I think it's been a pretty quiet day, relatively speaking, out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park today. I've not heard anything. Wait, you?
No, the only real news that has kind of come out was during media availability yesterday when our Main Street Media columnist Joe Dubin, point blank asked Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi. He said, does this team currently, as it's constructed, have the goods to win the Super Bowl? And they didn't really give you a super heartwarming answer. But if that is the kind of the only viral clip and the only kind of moment that you hear about for the next 3 or 4 days out of Titans camp, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're okay with a little viral moment there if it means everybody's kind of healthy. I'm scanning through the headlines. The Dolphins have already got some injuries in their secondary, as we're going to touch on in just a minute. But then also, there's kind of this is the rash of injury season, and this is also why I'm just free advice for everybody. This is why you don't do your fantasy football draft till the week before the season starts. So don't be one of those leagues because otherwise you're going to end up drafting some of these guys and getting hurt. So, yeah, if there's no news other than the viral clip, you're pretty good shape, I think.
I did like the response to that. I think it was Borgonzi that said, that's the goal, right? And just kind of left it there.
It is the goal. Is it the achievable goal this season? As the question was asked, maybe not. I suppose.
Maybe not.
You can't say that out loud. So it's an awkward spot for those two. But they should hopefully, man. And we talked about it with Teresa earlier this week. I'm a huge believer that if you give Cam Ward a healthy offensive line, I think he's going to have some rapport with just about any receiving group based on his elite playmaking ability. So if you can beef up the line and get the line whipped into shape, that to me gives you your best shot at success, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. As we said, trying to keep everybody healthy. Miami was unable to achieve that in their session earlier today. I had to be airlifted to an area hospital after suffering an injury during today's workout. The injury was undisclosed by the team, but they did say he was stable, so that's a good thing. Matos, and drafted rookie a year ago out of South Florida. Interesting. This kid was a basketball player at the high school level. In fact, he played Hamilton Heights down in Chattanooga. Initially signed a scholarship with the University of New Mexico. Transferred to South Florida. Walked on to the football team at South Florida, was initially a defensive end and designated kick blocker at 6'7", before eventually landing on the offensive line. In 2024, he was of the NFL's international player pathway, the Dominican Republic native, and again, went undrafted before signing with Miami prior to the 2024 season. So, again, no word on what the injury was, but he is stable and hope that he is okay and is able to eventually get back because, again, it's a really fascinating career that he is embarking on. You hear of basketball players flipping over to football, Antonio Gates among them. But they aren't necessarily typically in the trenches, but
yeah, and
it'll be worth watching.
Yeah, in addition to him too, they lost. And this already kind of seems a little more. That one is scary, but this one already has an immediate impact. One of their top nickelbacks, Artie Burns. No Jalen Ramsey sneaking around in the secondary there for Miami. So they lose their nickelback, Artie Burns. Sounds like he's already been spotted on crutches. Torn ACL is the feared diagnosis. So, man, a day or two into camp, and the Dolphins have already had some not only scary situations, but also some real challenges in terms of their depth chart.
Yeah, that's certainly not what you're wanting to hear this early in camp in particular. So, yeah, already with some challenges. And like you said, having traded Ramsey, they aren't their former defensive back in that trade as well, and his name escapes me. Yes, the former Alabama standout. So, but yeah, you certainly don't want to lose guys this early.
Maybe
We
you call the
mentioned
Honey
it-
Badger and say, hey, I know you just retired yesterday, but how firm are you on that retirement? Would you like to maybe get out of New Orleans and come to South Beach? Would that do something for you, maybe?
Taking his talents to South Beach.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier in the show. Lionel Messi, Jordi Alba from Inter Miami have not been seen in Austin for the MLS Liga MX All-Star game that is set for tonight. Apparently Messi missed last year's All-Star game after an ankle injury, and they both missed. Messi and Alba missed Monday's practice. So this is an interesting situation because, again, as you mentioned, if they don't play tonight, then they are subject to a one-game suspension. MLS rules state that if a player pulls out of the All-Star game without an approved medical reason, they are subject to a one-game suspension. League officials and Inter Miami representatives are set to talk. Both players will be available for the team's next match Saturday against FC Cincinnati. And this clearly kind of a non-injury situation because Inter Miami's coach has said that he hoped they would be able to miss the game. The players are called up. I would like to see them be able to rest, but that is not my decision. So there you have it. There's nothing wrong with him. Messi has not missed a game this year in MLS play, apparently. So
Yeah, and I mean, on one hand, I sort of get it, and it's easy for me to say because I didn't buy a ticket to see Leo Messi play in this game tonight, or Jordi Alba. If I wanted to see the two Barcelona teammates bring their talents to Austin tonight, I might have a different viewpoint. But on the other hand, I kind of get it, right? They played 5 matches in the last 14 days, and Messi has played all 90 minutes. In every one of those, and it's because they're committed to furthering that supporters shield. They also had some Club World Cup matches that no other team in MLS realistically kind of had at their disposal there. So his workload has certainly been taxed perhaps more than other. And if you're gonna miss a game, if you're a Miami fan, obviously this is the game/outing you want him to miss. But if it perhaps comes with a penalty, at least put on the boots for like 10 minutes and just hide in the corner is what you're maybe thinking. We need you at full strength versus Cincinnati, perhaps.
yeah, just kind of go out there and jog up and down a little bit, right?
Yeah, and this happened a couple years ago too. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a global icon like Messi, both in his own head and in real life with Ibra there. But he sat out a couple years ago when the game was played on artificial turf, and he basically said, I'm not in classic Zlatan style, he said, I'm not playing artificial turf. And he kind of was subject to sanction as well. So kind of a different shade here. Messi's is more just flat out workload. I could sympathize with either side here. And if I'm a Miami fan, just load up for 10 minutes and go stand in the corner. And we need you at full strength.
Yeah, because they don't want him to miss that Cincinnati game. Cincinnati leading the Eastern Conference table right now at 15-3-6. Inter Miami trying to make a run at them at 12-5-4. So, I mean, how much rest? How much do you want Messi to rest? Are you willing to rest him for 2 games?
Yeah. Well, and let's just point out this is subject to sanction. You telling me the MLS is going to suspend Messi? I'll put that in the I will believe it when I see it category, if I'm being honest. So
maybe that's the coach's approach to this. Hey, he's not going to play. Y'all do what you got to do.
Yeah, if you kind of keep that to yourself, I can see that maybe flying. The more defiant you get, maybe you force their hand. But I got a hard time believing. They also have they're in the Leagues Cup as well, which starts up beginning next week. And so they got another extra competition on their calendar coming up soon too. So I kind of get it on Messi's. But yeah, I got a hard time believing that he's not going to go tonight. It sounds like both him and Alba. And I got a hard time believing at least Messi gets any time dinged for this. I could be wrong, but I don't see it.
MLS did win the skills challenge last night against Liga MX, winning the let's see. Come on. What did they win? They won the shooting, passing, and the decisive crossbar challenge. Liga MX took the touch challenge. The cross and valley challenge was tied. So, congrats to MLS.
Crossbar competition, a tale as old as time. You see it at every level of soccer, but it is fun to see the best in the world do kind of the mind-bending and mind-blowing stuff from distance there. I do wish, man, every now and again you see a clip of the old MLS shootouts where if they were tied after 90 minutes, they went straight to a shootout and they started from like the 50-yard line with a running dribble. I kind of wish they would incorporate some element of that to this all-star competition just to bring back the nostalgic vibes a little bit, because those clips from early MLS days are iconic.
We mentioned during the rundown, WNBA play resumed after their all-star break. Minnesota thumped Chicago last night, 91-68, despite an 11 rebound performance from second-year player Angel Reese, her 10th straight double-double. But she also had nine turnovers and picked up her 7th technical foul of the season. The latter leads the league, and at 8, you get an automatic suspension. You're not subject to a suspension; it's automatic, Wade. So, Angel's gonna have to be kind of on her P's and Q's. I think Angel's gonna get a suspension here at some point. If you've already got 7 and you're just coming out of the All-Star break, I don't know what switch you flip that prevents you from getting an 8th one here at some point. So
yeah, you may be looking back at some of those early ones like, I kind of wish I wouldn't have got that cheapie back then. You know, it was all well and good back then. Like you mentioned, flirting with the rare triple-double, not one that you really would be proud of. And she wasn't eligible, I guess, for the quad double in that sense with the techs racking up. But yeah, it has been a real struggle. If she does miss any time, you know, it won't be the Twin Towers with her and Cardoso, but Cardoso could hopefully hold down the fort in her absence a little bit.
Reese is the first WNBA player to have multiple streaks of double-digit double-doubles with that 11-11 last night. So continuing to collect rebounds and me-bounds, as it turns out. So.
And bad news for them, too. We mentioned it in the rundown. The Wings also got a nice win over the Storm, so that puts the Sky tied with the Wings now for next to last. So especially if she were to miss a game, Dallas is all of a sudden kind of coming into its own a little bit. It's getting kind of grim down there at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, that ain't good. Those two and the Sun kind of holding it down at the bottom of the WNBA standing.
The good news is for them, the Sun ain't going anywhere, at least for now, both in terms of physical location and standings-wise. So they're not going to finish dead last.
Absolutely. Let's take a break here as we continue Wild and Wacky Wednesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we'll be joined by our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In our final segment, Wade and I will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. But right now, we are visiting with Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR. Heather, good afternoon.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
What's happening?
We're doing well. We were talking
in NASCAR?
We were talking about you earlier in the show, Heather. Your Royals taking out some frustrations today, looks like.
Well, 2 of the 3 games in this series, we've taken out a little frustration against the Cubs. I'm glad that now that they've dug this tremendous hole at the Royals that we all thought that we're going to have at the beginning of the season have finally decided to show up. You know, if this team had played this way all year, maybe we wouldn't be, 5 games out of the wild card or whatever we are at this point.
Wade, I think we might have touched on some of Heather's frustrations, or I might have.
that and it makes it worse.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
when you see it against the Cubs too, right? I mean, yeah, it's one thing if your team's playing well and you're like, man, where's this been all year? But to do it against a hot Chicago team, at least overall this season. It's got to add a little extra layer of maddening to it, I would imagine.
As I mentioned, if we would have done this all year, we would have probably been, I don't know if we'd be leading the division.
Right as we say that, PCA just hit a homer. So let's not count our chickens before they hatch on this.
Well, and
Wednesday
let me just tell you
afternoon.
something. This has been the issue all year. The bullpen has been, I watched the very first game, when the Royals dropped 2 out of 3 to start the second half of the season to the Marlins of all people. I watched the first game back from the All-Star game, and our All-Star closer blew the game in the bottom of the 9th. So, yeah, let's not, because the bullpen is a continuing issue, because that's the best of our closers, the guy who was quote unquote an all-star, but yeah, it's been a struggle.
Denny Hamlin wins at Dover.
Yes. Big win for him for a number of reasons, not the least of which is things are getting really interesting between him and NASCAR and their lawsuit. But this season for Denny in general has been really fascinating, right? Because he is, by NASCAR standards, an old man. Not a lot of guys win past 40. And Denny's now in his mid-40s, either 43 or 44, somewhere in that range. And he's having one of his best seasons in a while. He has 4 wins, which is the most since the COVID year for him. He leads the series in wins right now. And he looks like the Denny of 2020. Like, he looks like a guy who's a serious contender for the championship, which is fascinating because he has as much going on in his life right now as, he just had a son. He has this lawsuit going on with NASCAR that puts in jeopardy 2 of his 3 drivers of even staying with their team. So he's a guy that definitely thrives in chaos. And this has been about as chaotic as it could possibly be for him. And there he is thriving. He was pretty impressive at the Monster Mile.
His second straight win at Dover.
Yeah, it's a track that was not necessarily good to start, but in past years has become one of his better tracks, especially in the next-gen car. It's been a really good track for him. I think we talked about he was one of the guys that would be in the contention last week when we talked about this because this is a track for guys with a little more season on them, generally do better at Dover. But, yeah, huge win for him.
Let's see. Behind Denny, it was Chase Briscoe at number 2.
Great battle for them at the end for the win. Him holding off Briscoe on 4 fresh tires was made the win even more impressive.
Bowman, Larson, and Gibbs round out your top 5. Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, and Brad Keselowski are 6 through 10.
Yeah, and how about the mid-season or the in-season championship? A good year to be named Ty. We talked last week about how the Final Four was Ty, Tyler, and John Hunter, and the championship is now Ty versus Ty.
Gibbs and
Dylan.
Yeah, a tie will
go.
win.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about betting and angles along the way on this challenge, Heather. I feel confident in putting my money on Ty to win this thing.
Yeah, definitely. But, great stories for both of them for completely different reasons, right? Ty Dillon's a guy, and I jumped on a Zoom that NASCAR had. They have weekly or bi-weekly Zooms with different drivers, and he was the guest this week. For Ty Dillon, I mean, he's a kid who had a ton of success in trucks and Xfinities, won a championship, and then got to the Cup Series, and it's been a little bit of a struggle for him to stick somewhere. He raced for a while at the old the Geico team, which now I forgot the name of that team, but he raced with them for a while, and then when that dissolved, he's kind of bounced around. He's really found a home at Colleague, it seems like. He's having his best season since he left the 13 car. And this run that he's been on has been really cool. It's been great exposure for him, for Colleague. And a nice Cinderella story is the 32nd seeded driver making the championship. And then for Ty Gibbs, it's actually kind of a little bit of the same, right? He's much younger than Ty Dillon. He hasn't bounced around, but let's face it, they're both guys whose grandfathers owned teams, who came into the sport where a lot of people pointed at them and said, the only reason that you're here is because your grandfather owns a team. And there's a lot of pressure on them, and both of them have, to a degree or a different sense, underachieved a little bit since they've got the Cup Series. So for both of them to be in this title, going against each other, and having a chance to prove that they belong in the series, I think is really cool for both of them to get the opportunity to do so and to kind of step maybe out of their grandfather's shadow a little bit.
Heather, I always love to kind of frame it as what's best for the sport or what's best for NASCAR. That's kind of the way I view a lot of the lens of my coverage, I guess. What's better for NASCAR, or is there a preferred outcome if you're a NASCAR executive between these two guys, I guess, in particular?
Honestly, Ty Gibbs is one of the guys that they see as one of the futures of the sport. He's a young guy. He had a ton of success in Xfinity and ARCA. Maybe moved into Cup a little bit early, maybe a little soon, but I think from a story and a personality standpoint, I think that Ty Dillon is just a little bit more fun personality. I love Ty Gibbs, don't get me wrong. He's fascinating to me because he is so quiet and reserved. So I guess it's what you're looking for. If you're looking to promote a guy you see as your next superstar, then you would want Ty Gibbs to win. But if you're just looking for a fun story and a guy who would have a lot of fun with it, on the Zoom call today, he was talking about how much he really wants to go to the Speedway Classic at Bristol, but they are qualifying at Iowa that day, so a lot of the drivers aren't coming. But he's like, if I win this in-season challenge, I'll have a spare $1 million. I can probably just charter a plane and fly down there. So, and that kind of stuff is just fun, right? He's definitely having more fun with it. But the pressures and the expectations are much lower for him. So I think everybody expects Ty Gibbs at this point to win. But it would be a really fun story if Ty Dillon won. It's hard to keep them straight.
Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little racing as we head to the storied Indianapolis Motor Speedway this weekend for the Brickyard. What are you looking forward to out of that event?
Indy is an enigma a little bit, just from the perspective of everybody considers this I shouldn't say everybody. 93% 4% of the people out there probably consider this one of the crown jewels, right? Because Indy is so historic. But also historically, the races at Indy in NASCAR have not been that great because it's not a track built for NASCAR, right? It's not a track built for big stock cars, and they don't generally race all that great there. It got so bad that they actually raced several years on the road course to try to make the race more interesting. And last year was the first race back on the Brickyard again, not on the road course. The next gen car does race a little better, so I think it'll be a better race than it traditionally has been. But it's cool being at Indy. Like everybody you talk to says it's cool just being at Indianapolis. So I don't have necessarily the highest expectations for the racing per se, but just the cool factor of being at Indy makes this a hype race. So that's kind of the expectations going into the weekend.
Obviously not a facility that's necessarily geared to NASCAR. How does that change this race, or how does it impact this race, or does it impact?
Well, it does a little bit, right? Because the pits are made for Indy cars, not stock cars. You know, the way that the track is set up is to facilitate the way the Indy cars drive, not NASCAR stock cars. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to get 2 or 3 wide down the front stretch. You're going to get have passing zones, especially on the front stretch on restarts when they fan out before. But you gotta tighten it up before you get to the curves, because it's basically, that track is almost a square, right? It has 4 distinct corners, where most of the time when we're running on the ovals, you say turn 1 and turn 2, but they're basically the same turn, right? This is turn, straight, turn, straight, turn, straight, turn, So it's much, much different than, it's almost closer to a Pocono than to a Nashville. Even though Pocono only has 3 turns, they are 3 actual corners. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for drivers. The drivers that I've talked to this week all talk about how all 4 turns are completely different from the other as well. So that definitely will make it a challenge. It's a challenging racetrack for the stock cars because it is not built for stock cars. But I always say that it's always the most interesting when the drivers are most uncomfortable. When it's too easy, then the race is too easy.
Heather, you mentioned history a minute ago. You mentioned road courses a minute ago. What can you tell us about, and you also told us a couple weeks ago that look for Chicago to be taken off and San Diego being put on. But what the heck can you tell us about NASCAR racing at Naval Base Coronado, their first ever trip to an active military base? How is that going to work?
Don't really know all the details about that yet. They had the announcement, and I sat on the call with Ben Kennedy where he kind of talked about it. They don't have the course completed yet. They've got like a prototype that they're still testing on iRacing. But I think it's just going to be darn cool. I watched the hype video that NASCAR put on there, and if you haven't watched it, you should watch it because it's got me hyped. It's basically Top Gun for NASCAR, and it's really cool. I think that from a conceptual standpoint, it's a really good idea, right? Because it adds a dimension to the road course racing, to the street course racing, that is close to everybody that follows the sport in NASCAR's heart, and that's the military. So it just gives an added, hook for NASCAR fans, because one of the things that the sport does really well is honor and work in conjunction with the military, whether it's through flyovers or through the way that they support them during the Coke 600 on Memorial Day weekend, or the things that they do on the 4th of July that they were doing at the Chicago Street Race, and before that at Daytona. So I think it's a perfect marriage. As the details start to come out about where they're racing, how they're going to make that work, because they mentioned, they're going to be racing through this military base. So you might be, racing and see an aircraft carrier over here. You might be racing and see an airplane over there as you're weaving through the course. So that's just cool to me, right? I mean, that's just going to be, I'm fascinated in Chicago watching the in-car cameras and seeing the skyscrapers as they were approaching them. Imagine seeing an aircraft carrier sitting on a bay somewhere. I mean, that's just going to be insane. So really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you give me guys racing around with just F-16s, just kind of sitting there chilling. I'm totally on board with that. And I'm reading through this article on The Athletic, and I mean, a big question, and certainly a fair question, is how much public accessibility is a race on the military base going to be? And it sounds like Kennedy said there's at least going to be some measure of that is available.
Yeah, he said that it is going to be open to the public. So my guess is that there will be parts of the just like any other track now. There's parts of the racetrack that are open to the public, or the grandstands are, and the seating areas are, and then there will be parts that will be, take a certain level of security, a hard car from NASCAR, clearance from the military base. I'm sure that everybody that has a hard card or who gets a credential will have to go through the same kind of military screening you would. My grandfather is buried on a military base. Every time I go to visit him, I have to go through a background check to visit his grave. So it'll be the same kind of thing probably, where you'll have to have that background check before the race weekend to be able to access certain parts of it. But they'll probably build public areas where the grandstands are. Probably pit road will be a part of that public area, so that there is access to see the race for fans. And then there will be parts of the race where they race through that fans can't get to. The TV cameras will be there.
I sympathize with what you just said. Real quick, I sympathize with what you said. I had to cover a golf tournament one time at Fort Campbell, and I had to jump through a million hoops just to be able to cover that. I would imagine a NASCAR race at Coronado is going to be even more stringent. So I'm curious. I'll be looking forward to checking in with you this time next year to know how your background check is getting processed.
Yeah, I hope I get to go to Coronado. We'll see. It's fascinating to me because, so my grandfather, as I mentioned, is buried on a military base. Pre 9/11, you used to be able to walk in there and lay the flowers or whatever. And the first time I tried to go back, they've actually moved the new sites off base. But it's like you have to have a background check. It'll be 2 to 3 days before that comes back. So it's like, oh, okay. So now there has to be a modicum of planning that goes into going to lay flowers. I can't just show up and lay flowers on the grave anymore.
Real quick, this also makes me wonder, will all these NASCAR drivers be able to pass a background check? And if not, who might be one or two drivers that you would at least, in a joking manner, who would you maybe have your doubts about as far as getting clearance to race in this?
Well, the two that would automatically come to mind, and I think that they would understand me saying that, would be Carson Hocevar and Noah Gragson. But both of them were in the promo they saw at the base, so I know they cleared the background check because they've already been on the base. So those would be the two, all joking aside, love both of them to death. But those would be the two that I would probably be the most concerned of. But apparently they've already passed because they were in the promo video.
So they've already passed, but you would have Carson as you're most likely to have his revoked then, I guess.
Actually, I would probably have Noah and then Carson.
Okay. Heather Williams of
WCYB. Do that because I actually have known Noah for a very long time.
Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Heather, kudos for ratcheting up the fashion level on our show today. Either you've been somewhere, you're going somewhere, I'm not sure, but Wade and I really are going to have to up our game for you.
I thought that I was going to have to record my NASCAR podcast that I do today, but one of my guests canceled, so it's been moved to Friday. But I was already dressed up, and at work, I wasn't going home to change. So you're just the beneficiary.
And we're thankful.
And we appreciate it. But now you got to dress up again Friday then, right?
I do. But that's okay. I'm on TV, so I'm used to it.
There you go. Heather, we appreciate it and look forward to hanging out with you here again. Well, we need to talk. We'll talk about next week. But Heather Williams from WCYB-TV.
Well, next week's the baseball game, so my schedule, my dance card is
pretty full.
It's time. It's time for baseball. It looks
it's
like
pretty crazy. As long as we've been talking about this, that it's now about a week away. That's pretty amazing. So
yeah, I got to go in there on Monday and shoot some stuff for our show that we're doing. They wouldn't let us take pictures, but I can tell you It's crazy. It looks like a baseball stadium now. There are bleachers behind home plate. There's a press box in the process of being built behind home plate. There are dugouts. There are clubhouses. And it only takes about half of the infield up, which just tells you how big Bristol Motor Speedway is. But yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that this is now a baseball stadium.
That's amazing. Heather, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Let's take our final break here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. We will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe and Florida. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it. But it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, which means it is time for Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Let's start in Denver, where a dinosaur museum was the site of a dinosaur bone find. A Denver museum known for its dinosaur displays has made a fossil bone discovery closer to home than anyone ever expected, under its own parking lot. There had been some drilling done to study geothermal heating potential for the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. They dug the hole more than 750 feet deep and came up with a hockey puck shaped fossil sample. Now you got to understand that they dug 750 feet deep, but the hole was only about 2 inches, 5 centimeters in diameter. So to actually find something, well, James Hagedorn, the museum's curator of geology, says finding a dinosaur bone in a core is like hitting a hole in one from the moon. It's like winning the Willy Wonka factory. It's incredible. It's super rare. And, you know, sure. But they found a dinosaur bone about 760 feet deep underneath the Dinosaur Museum in Denver. I guess they built it there for a reason, right?
Yeah, good placement by them, and you know, props for man. That is mind blowing. I don't know which of those scenarios is more impressive, hitting a hole in one from the moon or winning the Willy Wonka golden ticket. Both are seemingly super rare. One, you might even say, both might be seemingly impossible. But I've been playing a lot of Indiana Jones on PS5, so this story puts me right in the feels with some archaeological overtones. So I love this, and man, I'm just still trying to wrap my brain around. Yeah, you're digging, and if you just dig a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right,
you
who
miss
knows?
it.
You miss it. Who knows? Maybe you find something better, or maybe you don't find anything at all. But man, the fact that you kind of strike lightning like that, like you said, they know what they were doing when they picked the location there. Props to them.
Clearly. I don't know if they cried in New York's Columbia County, but apparently there was some spilled milk recently. A tractor trailer hauling a load of milk overturned, resulting in what the local sheriff's office described as a significant spill. I'd say a tractor trailer full of milk is pretty significant if it spills. The cause at the time was unknown, but again, tanker tips over and spills its contents, which were milk. The milk truck driver was taken to a local hospital for evaluation. But, that had to be a heck of a mess. I mean, I guess it wasn't as significant as the dimes that were spilled in Texas a few weeks ago that we talked about. I mean, you don't necessarily have to clean it up. It's going to just wash off and evaporate, and the milk is obviously a loss as opposed to trying to recollect all those dimes. But still, not a fun task to deal with, I wouldn't think.
No, wouldn't want to have to deal with this, and thankfully everybody's okay. If the only casualty, as it were, here is the milk, that's okay. But I also was thinking, man, we just had Chip on yesterday. We need to make sure this doesn't happen to the MTSU on campus milk production at their creamery and their ag department there. We need to protect the MTSU milk at all costs. We don't want to end up in a similar situation here. And also, I mean, in today's economy, you got to protect that at all times, man. It ain't cheap.
No, it's not. It's getting less cheap all the time. Squirrels are raising hell in Minot, North Dakota. The Richardson ground squirrel. It weighs less than a pound. It's about a foot long, and it's native to the northern plains of the United States, but it's also a ferocious tunneler. And Minot is dealing with the latter, the tunnels. Pest control guy Joshua Harmon said fighting the squirrels is akin to one guy standing against a massive storm. If I'm trapping but my neighbor isn't, well, then we're not really going to get anywhere with it long term. Mark, show the picture of the pest control services guy and these holes. Yeah. Ground squirrels have been an issue for at least 20 years, but it's worsened over the last few, according to the street department superintendent of the city of Minot. It's unclear how many of the squirrels live in Minot, but it likely nears or even exceeds the city's population, which is 50,000. So they are fighting what sounds like a losing battle here, basically. But look at those holes.
Yeah, I got a hard time believing a squirrel is producing that. It seems bigger, and I'm knocking on the biggest piece of wood I can find. But some of my good friends have got issues with moles in the backyard, and even those moles ain't scratching the surface on what we're looking at here. These, like I said, those little guys should not be able to produce a hole that big. And as we like to talk about, man, they produce about 6 babies a year, according to this AP article. So, and you got to be real careful. I'm reading, they got the coyotes and the badgers and the owls and snakes that come. We need to get our hawk from Wimbledon, fly him in, have a little bit of a field day there, because it sounds like they got big issues there in Minot.
Hawk for hire, huh?
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, maybe Wimbledon's sitting on a little side gig right there.
Yeah, they're done. Let Rufus fly over for a little bit. He could feast right now.
This is wild and wacky, clearly. Not to be outdone, and you mentioned coyotes. In Florida, a coyote was hit by a vehicle, coyote named Wiley for obvious reasons, but was hit by a vehicle, ended up wedged in the vehicle's front bumper, and wildlife officials had to be called out to rescue the coyote from the bumper of the vehicle. Sustained a couple of broken legs, is expected to fully recover. I can't imagine how that took place, how the animal gets hit by the vehicle and winds up in part of the vehicle's mechanism like that. He looked kind of cozy in there.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. And, my immediate thought, too, I'm looking at the date line on this. This is in the latter half of July here. It's been tough for coyotes in the state of Florida, man, because we talked about Miami had Nashville SC's number. The Coyotes went down there and got beat, and then now there's a little more violence against the critters here. So if you're a coyote in the state of Florida, you better be on your best behavior because they're coming for you in all shapes and fashions, it looks like.
The Charlotte County Sheriff's Office had some fun with this, though. Again, they have appropriately, in their opinion, named the coyote Wiley, and they said that no roadrunners were located in the proximity of this situation. So some Looney Tunes watchers there, apparently. Finally, in the Philippines, a couple was scheduled to get married yesterday and did so despite the chapel that they were getting married in being flooded. Jade Rick Verdillo and Jamaica Aguilar were determined to walk down the aisle on their wedding day, even if it meant walking down a flooded one. Again, heavy rains flooded the church in the Philippines. The couple anticipated the risk of flooding, but decided to push through, as all marriages have their challenges. No lie. So, got some fantastic pictures out of it, but man, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, some wild artwork coming out of this. I can't help but wonder, though, if you are, obviously, if you're in the wedding, the bride and the groom, they got their own sets of challenges to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if you go out and you're attending this wedding, you go out and you get you a nice new suit, you buy you a nice new dress, you rent something nice. Are you dipping your toes in? Do you keep your shoes on? Do you just roll your pants up Tennessee style? I mean, how does this all work? How good a friend are we? Are we really talking here before I'm ruining a $500-600 suit for your wedding here? I'll sit in the back. I saw a couple pictures of some guys that look like they were wearing T-shirts in the back. That might be more your speed, depending on your friend level there.
Depending on the friend level, exactly. But yeah, it does look like they took their shoes off for the affair. So, but congratulations to the couple. That's going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll be joined by Summit High School Wrestling Coach Pete Miller, and we'll see who else shows up. Join us here, 2 o'clock, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. See you then.